It's late, and you're tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. You know the feeling. You had a plan for who you'd be by now, and somewhere along the way, you started slipping. Quietly. Nobody saw it. You said you'd start Monday, then the next Monday. You lowered the bar just a little just to get through the day, and you told yourself it was fine. But you feel it. That gap between who you are and who you know you could be. Here's the truth nobody said to you plainly. Your problem was never the situation. It was the mind that walked into it. So let me tell you what this is. This isn't here to hype you up. Hype fades by morning. You felt that too. This is here to train you. There's a difference. Motivation is a feeling. Training is a change. One leaves by lunch, the other stays for life. Think about two people. Same day, same stress, same bad news. One falls apart, reacts, spirals, blames. The other stays steady, thinks, chooses, moves. Same storm. Two completely different people, and the difference was never luck. It was a trained mind. That's what you're building here. Over the next 10 chapters, you're going to train the one thing that decides everything else. Not your circumstances, your mind. 10 principles, one at a time. How to start before you feel ready. How to control the first reaction, how to keep the promises you make to yourself, how to stay calm when everything gets loud. And by the end, you won't just understand it, you'll be it. But I'm going to be honest with you now so we're clear. There are no shortcuts in here, no magic morning, no one trick that flips your whole life overnight. This is a system. Slow, steady, real. The kind that actually holds when the pressure comes. Because everything you want is on the other side of a stronger mind. The discipline, the calm, the respect, the life. Win the mind first. The rest follows. You don't have to fix everything tonight. You just have to begin. So take a breath, sit up, and let's train. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop waiting to feel ready. Let's start where you actually live. You know exactly what you should do. That's the strange part. It was never about knowing. You know you should get up. You know you should start. You know the thing that would change your life. And still, you wait. You wait to feel ready. You wait for the motivation to show up. You wait for the right moment, the right mood, the right Monday. And here's what you tell yourself. I'll do it when I feel like it. But let me ask you something honest. How's that working? How many years have you spent waiting to feel like it? Because here's the truth nobody told you. The feeling you're waiting for comes after you start, not before. You've had it backwards your whole life. You think motivation causes action. It's the other way around. Action causes motivation. Think about it. The hardest part of the run is the door. Not the run, the door. Once you're moving, the resistance fades. The energy shows up, but only once you've already begun. You were never going to feel ready on the couch. Readiness isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a state you create by moving. An untrained mind waits to feel ready. A trained mind moves first and lets the feeling catch up. Understand what waiting really is. It feels harmless. It feels patient, even wise. I'm just waiting for the right time. But waiting isn't neutral. Every time you wait, you're not resting, you're practicing. You're teaching your mind that hesitation is what you do, that the mood decides, that comfort comes first. And a mind trained to wait gets very, very good at waiting. Here's the uncomfortable part. The feeling of not ready never fully goes away. The people you admire, the ones who move, who build, who do the hard thing, they don't feel ready either. They feel the same hesitation you feel, the exact same. They just stopped waiting for it to leave. They learned to move with the doubt in the car. Not gone, just not driving. So let's make this real, not theory, your actual life. The alarm goes off, and right there, in that first cold second, you have a choice most people never even notice. Move now, before the mind starts negotiating, or lie there and let it talk you out of the person you said you'd be. Because that's what the mind does when you give it time. It negotiates. 5 more minutes. Start tomorrow. You're too tired. And every one of those sounds reasonable. That's the trap. So don't give it the time. This is the whole shift. You move before the negotiation starts. You feel the pull to begin, and you go, now. Not in 5 minutes, not after one more scroll. Now, while the window's open. Because the window is small, a few seconds, and then the mind wakes up and starts making its case. You don't need a huge move. That's another lie the waiting tells you, that you have to feel ready for the whole thing. You don't. You just need the first small step. Put your feet on the floor, open the page, write one line. Make it so small you can't argue with it. Because a small start beats a perfect plan you never begin. Motion is motion, and the smallest motion still breaks the spell of waiting. Now here's where it goes deeper than habits. Every time you move before you feel ready, you're telling yourself something. You're saying, I'm not run by my moods. I do what I said, whether I feel it or not. And slowly, that becomes who you are. Not someone trying to be disciplined, someone who simply moves. The waiting person and the moving person aren't born different. They're just built by different choices repeated. And this is the foundation for everything else in here, because you can't train a mind that won't start. Every principle after this one depends on your willingness to begin before you feel like it. This is the door. All the rest is on the other side of it. So stop waiting to feel ready. That feeling was never coming first. It was always going to arrive after you moved, as a reward, not a requirement. The mood will follow the motion, not the other way around. You don't rise to how you feel, you move, and your feelings rise to meet you. Win the mind first, and winning the mind starts with the one move you've been putting off. So here's the question you carry into the next chapter. If you can learn to move before you feel ready, what happens in that half second between what hits you and what you do about it? That half second is where the next battle lives. Chapter 2. Control the first reaction. Something happens, and before you even think, you've already reacted. The message that makes your chest tighten, the comment that sets your jaw. The moment something goes wrong and heat shoots up before a single clear thought arrives. You didn't choose it, it just happened. Fast, automatic, done before you caught it. And later, always later, you replay it. Why did I say that? Why did I let it get to me? That's not even who I want to be. You lie there at night, holding a reaction you can't take back. Here's what you have to understand. Between what happens to you and what you do about it, there's a gap. Small, almost invisible. Half a second. But it's there. And that gap is where your entire life is decided. Most people never find it. They live glued to the trigger. Something pushes, they move. Insult, anger, stress, panic, setback, spiral. No space, no choice, just stimulus and response welded together. And they call it their personality. That's just how I am. I've got a temper. I react. But it isn't personality. It's an untrained gap. An untrained mind reacts. A trained mind responds. The difference between them is the half second most people skip. Let's be clear about what a reaction really is. A reaction isn't strength. It feels like strength, the quick comeback, the fast anger, the immediate defense. But it's the opposite. A reaction means something outside you just took the wheel. Someone said 6 words and reached inside you and changed your whole state. That's not power. That's being controlled by anyone in any moment. Here's the reframe that changes everything. The person who made you react just proved they run you, and the person who didn't react just proved they run themselves. So the calm one isn't the weak one in the room. The calm one is the strongest thing in the room, because nothing out there gets to decide what happens in here. Now, the middle of this chapter, the uncomfortable question. If reacting is so costly, why do you keep doing it? Because the reaction is fast, and in that fast moment, it feels good. The snapback feels like justice. The anger feels like control. The reaction gives you a hit of relief right now. And the price comes later. The regret, the damage, the night spent replaying it. That's the trade you keep making. A second of relief for hours of regret. So how do you train the gap? You don't do it by trying harder in the moment. The moment is too fast for that. You do it with one thing, a pause. When something hits you, before you speak, before you move, you take one breath. One slow breath. That's it. That's the whole tool. And it sounds like nothing, but that one breath is you stepping into the gap and taking the wheel back. Because in that breath, the heat drops just enough. The thinking part of you comes back online, and now you're not reacting, you're choosing. Try it in the small moments first. That's how you train it. The slow driver, the rude text, the little annoyance that doesn't matter. Practice the pause there where the stakes are nothing. One breath, then choose. Because you can't learn this in the emergency. You build it in the small moments, so it's there in the big ones. A skill you practice calm becomes a reflex under fire. And here's what you'll notice slowly. The pause doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. Every time you feel the pull to react and you breathe instead, you're telling yourself, I decide what happens in me, not the message, not the mood, not the moment. Me. And a person who believes that walks through the world completely differently, steady, unhooked, hard to move. This connects back to where we started. Chapter 1 was about moving before the mind talks you out of it. This one is the same skill, turned around. There you act before the hesitation. Here you pause before the reaction. Both are you stepping into the gap and refusing to be run on autopilot. So stop letting the world press a button and watch you move. That was never strength. The strength was always in the pause. Reaction gives the moment your power. Response keeps it. You don't control what happens, you control the half-second after, and that half-second is enough. Win the mind first, and the mind is one pause at a time. But here's what makes all of this fragile. You can know the pause, you can mean it, and still break your word to yourself the moment it gets hard. So the next question is the one underneath everything. Why don't you trust yourself to follow through? That's next. Chapter 3. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Let's talk about the promises nobody else hears. You make them all the time, quietly, to yourself. I'll start tomorrow. This week I'll be different. Tonight I'll sleep early. I won't check the phone first thing. Small promises, private ones. And then you break them. Quietly. Nobody knows. So it feels like it doesn't count. But it counts. It counts more than almost anything. Here's what you have to understand. Every promise you make to yourself is a small deposit or a small withdrawal in the one account that runs your whole life. Self-trust. Keep the promise, deposit. Break it, withdrawal. And most people are quietly overdrawn. Think about what that does over time. You tell yourself you'll do something, and a part of you, a quiet part, already knows you probably won't, because you've watched yourself not follow through 100 times before. So the promise gets weaker every time you make it, until I'll start Monday means nothing, not even to you. Especially not to you. That's the real cost. It was never just the missed workout or the late night. It's that you slowly stopped believing your own word. And a person who can't trust their own word, can't trust their own plans, can't trust their own decisions, lives in a quiet fog of, I probably won't anyway. An untrained mind treats its promises as suggestions. A trained mind treats them as debts. One negotiates, the other pays. Here's the hard truth. You already keep the promises you make to other people. Think about it. If you tell a friend you'll be there at 8, you show up. If your boss needs it Friday, you deliver. You'd feel ashamed to just not. But the promises to yourself? Those you break without a second thought. Which means somewhere along the way, you decided everyone else's respect mattered more than your own. That you were the one person not worth keeping your word to. Sit with that. You treat yourself as the one person you're allowed to let down. So how do you rebuild it? Not with a giant promise. That's the mistake you keep making. You try to win back years of broken trust with one enormous vow. I'll change everything, starting now. And when it breaks in 3 days, you've just made another withdrawal. You rebuild trust the way you'd rebuild it with a person who let you down. Small, provable, kept. You make one promise so small you cannot fail it. Not, I'll run 5 miles. I'll put my shoes on and step outside. Not, I'll read every night. I'll read one page. And then you keep it. Not because the page matters, because keeping your word matters. This is the part people miss. The size of the promise is not the point. The keeping is the point. A tiny promise kept is worth more than a huge one broken. One is a deposit. The other is just another lie you told yourself. So you keep the small one, then another, and something quiet starts to shift. The part of you that said you won't anyway gets quieter, because now there's evidence against it. You said you would, and you did, and your mind noticed. Here's where it becomes identity. Every kept promise is a vote, not for the task, for the person. I'm someone who does what I say, and once you truly believe that about yourself, everything gets easier. Because now, when you decide something, a part of you knows it's already as good as done. You've earned your own trust. And that is a kind of power most people never feel once in their lives. Remember the pause from the last chapter, the half second where you choose instead of react. This is the same battle moved to the quiet moments. Nobody's watching. Nobody would ever know. And you keep your word anyway. That's the mind you're building, one that holds when no one is looking. So stop breaking your word to the one person who has to live with the result. You've kept everyone else's promises long enough. Start keeping your own. A promise to yourself is still a promise. Keep it like someone's watching, because someone is. You. Win the mind first. And a mind that trusts itself can be pointed at anything. But here's the problem you'll hit next. You can keep your promises and still lose the day inside your own head, dragged down by thoughts you never chose to think. So the next question is, which thoughts are you feeding? That's next. Chapter 4. Starve the thoughts that weaken you. There's a voice in your head, and it doesn't always tell you the truth. You know the one. It runs commentary all day long. You're behind. You're not good enough. You always do this. Everyone else has it figured out. You'll probably fail anyway. And here's the thing. You believe it. Not because it's true, because it's familiar. It's been playing so long, you stopped hearing it as a voice and started hearing it as reality. Let me tell you something that will take weight off your chest right now. You cannot stop the thoughts from coming. You can't. Nobody can. The mind produces thoughts the way the body produces sweat. Automatically, endlessly. Some helpful, some poison. So if you've been fighting to have a silent, perfect mind, stop. That was never the game. Here's the game. You can't stop the thoughts from arriving, but you decide which ones you feed. And what you feed grows. Think of your attention as food. A thought shows up. I'm going to fail. If you grab it, turn it over, replay it, argue with it, believe it, you just fed it. And it grows louder, heavier, more real. But if you notice it and let it pass, if you don't grab on, it starves. It fades. Because a thought only has the power you feed it with your attention. An untrained mind believes every thought it has. A trained mind watches them and chooses which to keep. One is a prisoner, the other is a gatekeeper. Now here's the reframe most people never hear. A thought is not a fact. Just because your mind says it does not make it true. You're not good enough is not information. It's a thought. one thought, passing through. You can look at it the way you'd look at a car going by, notice it and let it keep going. You don't have to get in. Here's the mid-chapter question. If these weakening thoughts hurt so much, why does the mind keep making them? Because the mind isn't trying to make you happy. It's trying to keep you safe. So it scans for threats. It rehearses failure. It braces for the worst. It thinks that if it worries hard enough, it'll protect you. But it doesn't protect you. It just makes you live through the failure before it ever happens. And most of the time, it never happens at all. So what do you actually do? You don't fight the thought. Fighting it is feeding it. Try not to think of the fear, and there it is, bigger. Instead, you do two things. First, you name it. That's a fear thought. That's the old voice. Naming it puts space between you and it. Suddenly you're not in the thought. You're watching it. And the watcher is always calmer than the thought. Second, you redirect. You don't leave the space empty. The old thought will just fill it back in. You point your mind at something useful. A question. What can I actually do right now? A truth. I've handled hard things before. The next small action in front of you. You're not pretending the dark thought isn't there. You're just refusing to feed it and feeding something stronger instead. And be honest about your inputs too, because some of those weakening thoughts aren't even homegrown. You fed them in. The feed full of people winning while you sit still. The comparison, the noise, the voices that leave you smaller than they found you. What goes into your mind becomes what plays back at 2 a.m. So guard the door. A mind is only as strong as what you let live in it. Now here's where it becomes who you are. Every time you let a weakening thought pass without feeding it, you're training something. You're teaching your mind, I'm not run by my thoughts. I'm the one who decides which ones matter. And slowly, the voice that used to run your whole day becomes just noise in the background. Still there, but not driving anymore. You stop being someone at war with their own head and become someone who simply chooses what to listen to. This ties back to the promises from the last chapter. The loudest weakening thought is the one that says, you won't follow through anyway. And every promise you keep starves that thought a little more. The two work together. Kept promises quiet the doubt. A quieted mind keeps more promises. So stop believing everything your mind hands you. It's not a prophet. It's a nervous, noisy voice doing its best to keep you small and safe. You don't have to obey it. You just have to stop feeding it. A thought is not a fact. A feeling is not an order. You are the one who decides what to feed. What you water grows. So water carefully. Win the mind first, and winning it means starving what weakens you and feeding what makes you strong. But here's what nobody warns you about. Even when you master your thoughts, there's a stretch coming where you do everything right, and nothing seems to happen. No applause, no results, just the quiet grind. And that stretch is where most people quit. That's next. Chapter 5. Train in the boring middle. Starting feels good. Finishing feels good. It's the middle that breaks people. You know the middle. It's day 19. The excitement's gone. The newness wore off. You've been showing up, doing the work, and nothing looks different yet. The mirror's the same, the numbers barely moved, nobody's noticed, nobody's clapping, and that quiet voice starts up. What's the point? This isn't working. Maybe you're not built for this. And that's where most people stop. Not at the hard part, at the boring part. Here's what you have to understand. The middle isn't the obstacle in the way of the training. The middle is the training. Anyone can start. Starting is easy. It runs on excitement, and excitement is free at the beginning. But excitement is fuel that burns fast. And when it's gone, what's left is the real question. Will you keep going when it stops feeling good? That question is the whole game. An untrained mind needs to feel progress to keep going. A trained mind keeps going and lets the progress catch up. One quits in the quiet, the other is built there. Here's the hard truth about the middle. Progress is invisible for a long time before it's visible. Think about it. The work you do today doesn't show up today. It shows up weeks from now, months from now. So there's always a gap, a long, silent gap between the effort and the reward. And in that gap, it feels like nothing's working. But feeling like nothing's working and nothing working are not the same thing. Picture water heating on a stove, 60 degrees, 70, 80. It looks exactly the same the whole way up. Still water, nothing happening. And then, 1 degree, it boils. Was that last degree the one that mattered? No, they all did. Every invisible degree was building to the one you could finally see. The middle is the heating. You just can't see the temperature. Here's the mid-chapter question. If the middle is invisible, how do you keep going with no proof it's working? You change what you measure. Most people measure results. And in the middle, the results aren't there yet, so they feel like failures every single day. Stop measuring results. Measure one thing instead. Did I show up today? Yes or no? Because you can't control how fast the results come, but you can always control whether you showed up. And when showing up is the win, you win every single day, even the invisible ones. Let's make it real. The middle is a random Tuesday. You're tired. No one would know if you skipped. There's no finish line in sight, no reward waiting. Just the same small thing you did yesterday to be done again. And you do it, not because you feel like it, not because today is special, because you decided who you are, and that person shows up on Tuesday. That unremarkable Tuesday is where champions are actually made. Not in the highlight, in the repetition nobody films. And here's what the middle is really building. Not just the skill, not just the result. It's building you. Because a person who can keep going when it's boring, when there's no applause, when nothing shows yet, that person can do almost anything. The boredom isn't in your way. The boredom is the weight you're lifting. And lifting it makes you strong. This connects to the promises again. The middle is just a long line of small promises kept when nobody's watching and nothing's rewarding it. Every boring day you show up is one more deposit in the account. The middle isn't separate from self-trust. The middle is where self-trust is forged. So stop waiting for the middle to feel exciting. It won't. That's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you've reached the part where it counts. The beginning runs on excitement. The middle runs on identity. That's why most people only ever begin. Boredom is not a reason to quit. Boredom is the test itself. Win the mind first. And the mind is won in the quiet middle nobody sees. But there's a moment that will test everything the middle built. A moment where the pressure spikes, the noise rises, and everyone around you loses their head. What you do there reveals who the training really made you. That's next. Chapter 6. Stay calm when it gets loud. Anyone can stay calm when it's quiet. The test is who you are when it isn't. Something goes wrong, suddenly, badly. The news lands, the plan breaks, the pressure spikes, and you can feel it happen in your body. Chest tightens, thoughts speed up, everything narrows. And in that state, you make it worse. You say the thing you can't take back. You make the panicked decision. You react from the storm instead of thinking through it. And later you realize the situation was hard, but your panic is what actually did the damage. Here's the truth people get backwards. Pressure doesn't build your character. Pressure reveals it. The calm you show when it gets loud was never created in that moment. It was built in all the quiet moments before. The pauses, the promises, the boring middle. The loud moment just shows you what you already trained. An untrained mind matches the chaos around it. A trained mind holds still while everything shakes. One is a leaf in the wind, the other is the tree. Understand what panic actually is. When pressure hits, your body flips into alarm. It thinks it's under attack. So it floods you, fast heart, tight chest, racing mind. And in that flood, the wise part of you goes offline. You literally can't think clearly. That's not weakness, that's biology. But here's the key. You are not helpless in it, because the body has a door the panic can't lock. The breath. One slow breath out, long, unhurried, tells your body the threat is not what you think. Stand down. You can't argue your way calm, but you can breathe your way there. A few slow breaths, and the flood drops just enough for the thinking part of you to come back. Remember the pause from Chapter 2. This is the pause, under fire. Here's the mid-chapter question. If everyone panics under pressure, why do a few people stay steady? Because they learned something quiet. The situation and their state are two separate things. The situation is loud, but loud out there does not require loud in here. They stopped letting the volume of the moment set the volume of their mind. The world gets to be chaos. You don't have to be. Let's make it practical. When it hits, the bad news, the emergency, the pressure, before you react, you do three things, fast and quiet. You breathe. One slow breath to drop the flood. You name it. Okay, this is pressure. I'm feeling it. And you ask one question. What's the next right thing? Just the next one. Not the whole problem, the next step. Because panic looks at the entire mountain and freezes. Calm looks at the next stone and moves. And notice what staying calm does to the room. Calm is contagious, just like panic is. When everyone's losing it and one person stays steady, Everyone turns to that person. They don't turn to the loudest, they turn to the steadiest. Your calm doesn't just save you, it becomes the thing that holds everyone else together. That's not a small power. That's the kind of person people follow. Here's where it becomes who you are. Every time you stay calm when it gets loud, you prove something to yourself. I don't come apart, I hold. And a person who believes that walks toward pressure instead of away from it. Not because they enjoy it, because they've learned they can stand in it without being swept off their feet. This is the boring middle paying off. All those quiet, unglamorous reps weren't just building a habit. They were building a nervous system that doesn't flinch when it counts. You don't rise to the pressure, you fall to your training. So you trained. So stop trying to make the world quiet enough for you to be calm. It never will be. Build a calm the noise can't reach. Pressure doesn't make you, it shows you what you already made. The loud moment asks one question: did you train or did you wait? Win the mind first. And a mind that stays steady when it's loud can walk into anything. But there's something quietly draining your strength long before the loud moment ever comes. Something you invite in every day without noticing what it costs you. That's next. Chapter 7. Cut what makes you feel weak. Some things build you, some things quietly drain you, and most people never stop to notice which is which. Think about your day. Not the big events, the small inputs. The first thing you reach for in the morning. The feed you scroll without deciding to. The voices you let talk in your ear. The comparison, the noise. And notice how you feel after. Not entertained. Smaller. A little more anxious. A little more behind. A little less like yourself. You didn't decide to feel that way. You just absorbed it. Here's what you have to understand. You become what you let in. Your mind is not a sealed room. It's shaped by whatever you feed it all day long. The images, the words, the people, the inputs, they don't just pass through. They stay. They become the voice in your head at 2 a.m. So the question isn't just what you do, it's what you allow in. An untrained mind consumes whatever's put in front of it. A trained mind guards the gate. One is a sponge, the other is a filter. Let's be honest about the biggest one, the scroll. You pick up the phone to feel better and put it down feeling worse. Because what you're scrolling through isn't reality. It's everyone's highlight reel, stacked against your behind the scenes. You compare your ordinary Tuesday to 1,000 people's best moments. The wins, the trips, the bodies, the success. And you walk away feeling behind. Not because you are, because you just fed your mind poison and called it a break. Here's the mid-chapter question. If these inputs make you weaker, why do you keep going back? Because they're easy, and in the moment they numb something. The scroll fills the silence. The comparison feels like information. The noise distracts you from the discomfort. They're not evil, they're just cheap comfort that charges you later. And the bill is your confidence, your focus, your peace. So what do? You don't have to burn your whole life down. You just start cutting, one input at a time. Notice what leaves you smaller and cut it. The account that always makes you feel behind, gone. The phone first thing in the morning, not anymore. The voices that drain you, less of them. You don't need permission. You don't owe your attention to anything that shrinks you. And guard the edges of your day especially, the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes. What you feed your mind right when you wake sets the tone for the whole day. What you feed it right before sleep is what it chews on all night. Protect those 2 windows, and you've protected more than you know. Now, cutting isn't only about removing, it's about replacing. Because a mind hates an empty space, it'll fill it back in with the old thing. So you put something stronger in its place. The voices that make you think bigger, the words that steady you, the silence that lets you actually hear yourself. You don't just starve the weak, you feed the strong. This is the same principle from Chapter 4, moved from your thoughts to your inputs. What you water grows, and now you're choosing the water. Here's where it becomes identity. Every time you cut something that makes you weak, you're saying, my mind is worth protecting. I don't hand my attention to just anything. And a person who guards their mind like that starts to feel different. Clearer, steadier, harder to shake. Because they stopped letting the world pour whatever it wanted into the one place that runs their life. So stop consuming things that leave you smaller and calling it rest. Real rest builds you back up. If it drains you, it isn't rest. It's a leak. Find the leaks, close them. You are what you let in, so stop letting in what you don't want to become. Guard the gate. Everything strong you build lives on the other side of it. Win the mind first, and you can't win a mind you keep feeding what weakens it. But here's what's strange. The very discomfort you've been running from, the hard thing, the resistance, the thing you avoid, might be the exact thing pointing you where you need to go. That's next. Chapter 8. Turn discomfort into your signal. You've spent your whole life running from one thing, and it might be the exact thing you should walk toward. Discomfort. That tight feeling before the hard conversation, the resistance before the workout, the pull to close the laptop when the work gets difficult, the urge to avoid, delay, escape. And your whole life, you've treated it as a stop sign. Discomfort shows up, and you turn around. This feels bad, so it must be wrong. But what if you've been reading it exactly backwards? Here's what you have to understand. Discomfort isn't a stop sign. Most of the time, it's a signpost. It's not saying, don't. It's saying, here. This is the thing that matters. This is the edge of your growth. This is where you get stronger. The discomfort isn't in your way. It's marking the path. An untrained mind treats discomfort as a threat to flee. A trained mind treats it as a compass. One runs from the hard thing. The other reads it as direction. Think about it honestly. Everything you're proud of sits on the other side of something uncomfortable. The strength came from the reps you didn't want to do. The growth came from the conversation you were scared to have. The confidence came from doing the thing that terrified you. Comfort has never built a single thing worth having. It just kept you exactly where you were. Here's the reframe that changes everything. The thing you most want to avoid is usually the thing you most need to do. That resistance you feel isn't a warning that you're wrong. It's a signal that you're at the edge of something real. Growth and comfort do not live in the same place. You have to choose. Now the mid-chapter question. If discomfort points toward growth, why does it feel so much like danger? Because your mind can't tell the difference between a threat to your life and a threat to your comfort. The hard workout, the risky move, the scary conversation, none of them will hurt you. But your mind fires the same alarm it would for real danger. Same feeling, completely different meaning. So you have to learn to ask, is this actually dangerous? Or is it just uncomfortable?
Because almost always,
it's just uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is where you want to be. Let's make it practical. Not all discomfort is the good kind, be clear on that. The discomfort of a bad situation you should leave, that's real, listen to it. But the discomfort of growth has a specific flavor. It shows up right when you're about to do something that would make you better. The workout, the work, the honest conversation, the bold move. That's the one you lean into. And here's the shift. When you feel that resistance rise, instead of, I don't want to, you say, there it is, that's the way forward. And you move toward it on purpose. You can even start small. Do one uncomfortable thing a day by choice. The cold end of the shower, the set you don't feel like doing, the message you've been avoiding. Small, voluntary discomfort, chosen on purpose. Because every time you choose it, you're training your mind to stop panicking at the edge and start recognizing it as home. Here's where it becomes who you are. Every time you move toward discomfort instead of away, you prove something. I don't run from hard things, I walk into them. And that changes everything about how you live. Because most people's lives are shaped entirely by what they were avoiding. The smaller life, the safe choice, the thing they never tried, all of it built around dodging discomfort. But you're becoming someone who uses discomfort as a compass. And a person like that goes exactly where they're meant to. This ties back to cutting what makes you weak. The weak inputs were comfortable, that's why they were so hard to cut. And the strong path is uncomfortable, that's why most people skip it. Comfort is the current pulling you towards smaller. Discomfort, chosen, is how you swim the other way. So stop treating every hard feeling as a reason to stop. Some of them are the exact sign that you're finally on the right road. Comfort keeps you where you are. Discomfort is the toll to get where you're going. The hard thing and the right thing are usually the same thing. Win the mind first. And a mind that walks toward discomfort can't be stopped by much. But all of this, the pause, the promises, the calm, the discomfort, it all rests on one final shift. Whether you live by how you feel or by something steadier underneath. That's next. Chapter 9. Answer to your standards, not your moods. Let's talk about the thing that's really been running your life. Your moods. Be honest. You do the thing when you feel like it. You skip it when you don't. Good mood, you're disciplined, focused, on top of it. Bad mood, everything slides. So your whole life rises and falls on a feeling that changes with the weather, the sleep, the text you just got. And you've been calling that normal. Here's what you have to understand. A mood is weather. A standard is a spine. Weather changes hour to hour. It's not supposed to run anything, it just passes through. But most people hand their whole life to the weather. I didn't feel like it, as if that settles it, as if the feeling was ever supposed to be in charge. An untrained mind asks, do I feel like it? A trained mind asks, who am I? One is run by moods, the other is run by standards. Here's the difference, and it's everything. A goal says, I want to get there. A standard says, this is just what I do.
A goal depends on motivation.
A standard doesn't ask how you feel. A goal is something you chase. A standard is something you are. The person who wants to work out negotiates with the couch every single day. The person for whom training is simply a standard doesn't negotiate. It's not up for debate. It's just who they are. That's the shift. You stop asking your mood for permission. Here's the mid-chapter question. If moods are so unreliable, why do you keep obeying them? Because a mood feels like the truth. When you don't feel like doing something, it feels real, like a genuine reason, not just a passing state. I'm too tired. I'm not feeling it. Not today. It feels like information. But it isn't. It's just weather, dressed up as a fact. And you've been letting the weather cancel your life. So how do you live by a standard instead? You decide once in advance, when you're clear, not when you're tired. You choose who you are and what you do, and you take the daily vote away from your mood. I train. That's not a decision I remake every morning. It's decided. I keep my word. Not when I feel like it. Always. And when the mood shows up, and it will, you let it be there. You don't fight it. You just don't let it vote. You feel unmotivated, and you do the thing anyway, because the standard already decided. This is the answer to something from the very first chapter. Remember, stop waiting to feel ready. This is why. Because if you wait to feel ready, you've made the mood the boss. A standard doesn't wait for the feeling. It moves and lets the feeling do whatever it wants. Now let's be clear about what this isn't. A standard is not cruelty. This isn't about ignoring real exhaustion or grinding yourself into dust. Rest is allowed.
Rest can be part of the standard.
The difference is who's deciding. Resting because you plan to is a standard. Skipping because you don't feel like it is a mood. One is chosen, the other just happens to you. Here's where it becomes who you are. Every time you act from your standard instead of your mood, you build a self that doesn't depend on feelings. And that self is free. Think about it. The person ruled by moods is a prisoner of every bad day, every rough night, every passing feeling. The person ruled by standards is steady no matter what the weather does. They're the same on the good days and the hard ones. And that steadiness is one of the rarest, strongest things a human being can own. So stop letting a passing feeling decide the shape of your whole life. The mood will pass. The choices you made because of it won't. Motivation asks how you feel. A standard doesn't ask. A mood is weather. Stop letting the weather build your life. Win the mind first. And a mind that answers to standards, not moods, has already won most of the battle. So here we are, 9 principles in, and everything has been building to one last thing. The person all of this makes you. The one who feels the fear, the mood, the pressure, the doubt, and doesn't fold. That's next. Chapter 10. Become the person who doesn't fold. This is where it all comes together. 9 chapters, 9 principles, and all of it was building toward one person, the one you're becoming, the one who doesn't fold. Let's be clear about what that person actually is, because you might be picturing someone who feels no fear, someone cold, untouchable, never shaken. That's not it. That person doesn't exist. The one who doesn't fold feels everything you feel. The fear, the doubt, the mood, the pull to quit. Same as you. They just don't let it decide. Here's the truth at the center of everything. Strength was never the absence of fear. It's acting well while the fear is still there. Courage isn't feeling no fear. It's feeling it and moving anyway. The person who doesn't fold isn't fearless. They're just no longer ruled by the fear. An untrained mind waits to feel strong before it acts. A trained mind acts, and the strength is in the acting. One waits to become, the other becomes by doing. Look at what you've actually built. You learn to move before you feel ready, so hesitation doesn't run you. You learned the pause, so nothing outside you takes the wheel. You learn to keep your word to yourself, so you trust your own decisions. You learn to starve the thoughts that weaken you, so the voice doesn't drag you down. You learn to train in the boring middle, to stay calm when it's loud, to cut what makes you weak, to walk toward discomfort, to answer to your standards instead of your moods. That's not a list of tricks. That's a person. And that person doesn't fold. Here's the mid-chapter question, the last one. If you have all these tools, why would you ever fold again? Because you will still have moments. Days you feel weak, days you slip, days the old patterns come back. That's not failure. That's being human. The person who doesn't fold isn't someone who never falls. It's someone who gets back up faster every time. The first fall took you weeks to recover from. Now it takes a day, then an hour. Not because you stopped falling, because you stopped staying down. So let's make this real one last time. The moment comes, the one that used to break you. The pressure, the fear, the setback, the urge to fold. And you feel all of it exactly like before. But this time, something's different. You breathe, you find the pause, you remember who you decided to be, and you don't fold. You act, steady, anyway. And in that moment, you realize the win was never the situation. It was the mind that walked into it. Here's where it becomes final. This isn't about doing these things. It's about being someone. There's a difference between a person who uses discipline and a person who is disciplined. One is always fighting themselves. The other simply acts like who they are. And that's the whole point of the training. Not to force yourself through life, to become someone for whom the strong thing is just the natural thing. The win was never the situation. It was always the mind that walked into it. You feel the fear, you feel the mood, you feel the pull to fold, and you stand anyway. That's not fearlessness. That's strength. Win the mind first, the rest follows. And now you know how. The ending. So here we are. You came into this tired of your own patterns, tired of the gap between who you are and who you knew you could be, waiting to feel ready, breaking quiet promises, fading a little without anyone seeing. And I told you something at the start. Your problem was never the situation. It was the mind that walked into it. Now look at what you carry. You know you don't wait to feel ready anymore. You move, and the feeling follows. You know the pause, that half second where you stop reacting and start choosing. You know that a promise to yourself is a debt, not a suggestion, and you pay it. You know a thought is not a fact, and you decide which ones to feed. You know the boring middle is where you're built, not where you break. You know how to stay quiet when the world gets loud. You know to guard the gate and cut what makes you weak. You know discomfort is a compass, not a stop sign. You know to answer to your standards, not your moods. And you know the last thing, that strength was never the absence of fear. It's standing anyway. That's not information anymore. That's you. But hear me on this, because it's the most important thing I'll say. Knowing this changes nothing by itself. You could understand every word and wake up tomorrow exactly the same. Because this was never about understanding. It was about training. And training only counts when you actually do it. So here's what you do next. Not all 10, not everything at once.
That's the old way, the big leap that breaks in 3 days.
You pick one. The one principle that hit you tonight, you already know which one it was. The one that felt like it was written about your life. Start there. Tomorrow, one small move before you feel ready. Because that's how all of this works. Not in a burst, in one small repeated choice that slowly becomes who you are. And you won't do it perfectly. You'll slip. You'll have days you fold. You'll forget everything you learned here and remember it again. That's not failure. That's the training. Just get back up faster than you did before. That's the whole thing. Because here's what I know about you. You didn't find this by accident. Something in you is tired of waiting to become the person you already know you are. And that tired part, that's not the weak part of you. That's the part that's finally ready. Tomorrow's going to look like today. Same alarm, same weight, same world. Nothing out there will have changed. But you're not the same one facing it. You know where the gap is now. You know where the pause lives.
You know the win was never the situation.
So the next time it comes, the fear, the pressure, the pull to fold, you take a breath, you find the pause, and you don't fold. Win the mind first. The rest follows. It always did. One last thing before you go. Thank you for your time tonight, for your honesty, for sitting with hard truths instead of looking away. That takes something most people don't have. And if any of this reached you, if one line felt like it knew you, then somewhere out there is someone quietly struggling with the exact same thing. Fading, tired, waiting, the way you were. Send this to them. You might be the reason they start training too. Now go, take the breath, take the first small step, and become the one who doesn't fold. You already know how.